Cody, a lot of drivers grow up in racing families, including yourself. What's unique and different about your story?
You know, it's what our family was and still is. You know, every weekend, you know, our family would go to the races. We've had ups and downs. You know, my grandfather raced, and then my great-grandfather raced actually after. And then all my aunts and uncles. You know, with my uncle, he was always my idol and still is today. You know, going out and being on the dirt tour, and it's kind of always wanted to do. It just meant so much to be able to do what our family did, and to keep carrying the torch for our family.
Now, is there a rumor too that your mom raced as well?
Yeah, my grandpa, he's a truck driver. He's owned a trucking company, and they would show up to the races with a couple tractor and trailers full of race cars. And he would enter all of his daughters and his sons into races, whether they liked it or not, or wanted to or not. My mom, you know, she ran powder puff and cars, late models with men, and my aunt as well. Actually, both my aunts. You know, so when you go to my grandparents' house and you look at all the pictures, every one of my family members at one time have held a checkered flag.
That's really cool. So, you know, typically drivers go to their dads and their grandfathers and the men of the family. Do you ever turn to your mom for any advice?
Well, you know, there's times, you know, in your career that, you know, you hit bad moments, and there's that pinnacle moment where, you know, if you didn't have that person in your life, you wouldn't have got to where you got. And when I was racing, when I first started out, I was crashing a lot, and my dad, you know, he said it was done. You know, I've crashed. It was 30 races. We crashed 11 rear ends, and my dad came to me and said, "All right, this is done. We tried it and it didn't work out." And it was my mom that actually, you know, kept us going, sat us down, and got us through that. And it's funny how it played out, because when we first got to sprint car racing, we hid it from her. She actually found out it through a local newspaper that we were going, you know, sprint car racing. And 3 months down the road, she's the one that kept it going.
So you crashed a bunch, your mom went to bat for you. At what point in your career did you actually decide, maybe I can make a profession out of this?
Graduated high school 2008, worked for my dad all summer. We got on a roll there in 2009, and won some races, and it started to really click. And it was, you know, working at J&K with my dad was always a passion, something I always grew up doing. And then the success that we had in local sprint car racing in PA, you know, with every win, it just solidified, you know, I could do it. I could be like my uncle. I could be out here, and you know, went from there.
So you always looked up to your uncle who took the late model route. What steered you in the direction of giving sprint cars a shot? Well,
at the time in Central PA, when my uncle started racing in the 80s, it was there was a lot of late models in that area. And by the time I got going, we started in motocross. And then my dad wanted me to get into something safer, and we went to micros. At that time, you know, we would have had to travel 2.5 hours to go to a local late model race. And within an hour, there's 6 sprint car racetracks. And it was kind of a no-brainer to, you know, to get the seat time and to progress in racing. It was a no-brainer to go with sprint cars.
So for a lot of people who aren't from Pennsylvania, obviously you know how awesome the tracks are and the racing is up there. Describe to me what the racing is like in PA.
It's intense. It's the fan base there, you know, a local Lincoln race, Lincoln Speedway in Williams Grove is an average outlaw race. It's just the amount of following and the heritage that we have in Pennsylvania. It's unlike any other place in the country. It's got a lot of good teams, a lot of great drivers, and the competition is extremely tough. I actually took it for granted, you know, because we got success, you know, pretty early, and I didn't realize how hard it was until I had to go out on the road and race different racetracks, and then come back and race against the guys that I would race against every weekend there, you know, but I only get a chance to do it 6 times. It's really tough to go back there and to race, and the competition makes for an exciting atmosphere and just the fan following.
You mentioned Williams Grove, which is one of your favorite racetracks. You've had
Yeah.
a lot of success there. Aside from it being your home track, what's clicked at that track for you?
We just had a lot of laps. You know, when you race local, you get to go back every weekend and keep working on it and keep building on it. And when we first started racing there, they had a pretty tough handicap system. So every week we'd either start in the back of a heat race and the back of a, we start 12th in a feature pretty much 90% of the races we ran that year. So every week you had to battle back through and always race. And it kind of made, gave me the opportunity to really, put yourself in an adverse spot and have to overcome it. We had some success there. It took me a while. That was actually one of my hardest tracks growing up to really get a handle on.
Now, in addition to Pennsylvania being your home state, that's where Kasey Kahne discovered you. Take me through the story of how that relationship built.
Well, in 2009, we did some more traveling with my dad in his family car in the 89 and went out to Eldora. I met Kasey out at Knoxville later on the year, and we were standing 1 and 2, and we were talking and watching the race cars and how the race was playing out. And towards the end of the season, Craig Delansky was driving his number 19 DirecTV car, and they decided they were going to split ways at the end of the year. And Kasey gave me the opportunity to come in, fill in, and get a tryout pretty much, and gave me the opportunity. The first race I was supposed to race rained out, so then we went a week went by, and we got the opportunity to run in Charlotte. And we ran pretty decent the first night, and the next night I totally destroyed his race car. The week after that, he sat me down and asked me if I wanted to drive for him for 2010. And it was that one moment when you can look back on it and say that you feel like you finally made it. Like this is your chance. And it was a tremendous opportunity, and I've been so privileged to be here ever since.
So you destroyed his race car, but he still stuck by you. What's it like knowing that somebody like Kasey Kahne saw potential in you? It's
uplifting. It's pretty cool. When you have a owner that has the resources and the caliber of cars and products and stuff that we have here to race is one thing. But when you have a owner like Kasey that has been through this, and when you have a bad night and you feel like your boss is going to call you up and yell at you, he's been there and he's done it and he's made those mistakes, and you get the phone call and he tells you what you need to do better, or because he's been there. So it's pretty cool to have the opportunity to be in this situation.
What about you do you think stood out to Kasey Kahne?
I'm not sure. I think at that time it was probably our ability to win in slick tracks. It was tough, I think, for KKR at the time to win in slick track situations, and we excelled in slick tracks. And I think that might have been something that he was looking at. I'm not sure.
Well, the dynamic is clearly different and unique and fun here at KKR. As we're setting up, you guys are all joking around. The drivers like to hang out here. What do you like most about being a driver for Kasey?
Well, the toughest part about going out on the road is being away from my family. We grew up racing with my family. Every weekend we're with our family, and this is what we did. And then when we went out on the road, it was tough to go away from my family. But the biggest thing that made it easy was the fact that Kasey Kahne Racing's always been a family business. And we have that atmosphere here. We're all, brothers. We're all, we're not just co-workers. It's just a family. Everyone, we would go out to dinner together. Well, as soon as we're done this interview, we're all going to go out to GoPro and try to race each other. So it's just a fun atmosphere and a good sense of camaraderie.
All of the drivers are extremely talented and successful that run here at KKR. Is it ever tough competing against all of them on the weekends?
Absolutely. With Darren Pittman, he's set the bar, really high. Brad Sweet is phenomenal in a sprint car. It's a cool opportunity to come here and to just. Our organization is an open book, so we can walk into every one of these trailers and get a sense of what everyone's doing, and when you have that opportunity, it just comes down to flat out driving, because we all have the same stuff. We all have the same setups. So you can just go out there and really put yourself up against Darren and Brad and see what you have every weekend.
In 2010, you had a pretty serious injury the first year you were supposed to come on with KKR. Tell me about the injury and what it was like having Casey stand by you and then getting back in a sprint car after that.
Yeah, it was tough. It was going from a couple months of feeling like you finally made it. This is your chance. We're going to try this, and we're going to try to do it. And then we had our first race, first World of Outlaw race. We went to go pick up my mom with my dad, and a lady ran a light, and we had a head-on collision. In the crash, my femur went through my tibia, so it blew my knee apart. We spent 23 days in the hospital. It was two surgeries. I had that little cool bar that held my leg together with the bolts in it for a while. And then after that, it was 20-some weeks of crutches. So if it wasn't for racing, I don't think I would have been able to ever recover like I did. When you're laying in a hospital bed, your mentality thinks you're okay and everything, and then when you finally get out and try to move, you realize, you get that moment when you feel like, man, I'm really broken and beat down. And for me, what got me through that was not wondering if I ever walk again, because that was one of the things we were worried about, but it was I ever going to race again? And to have Casey, be by my bedside in the hospital, our guys here come often, to see me. It was a huge part of my recovery to be, involved in this sport.
And I know another part of your recovery, they had to change things up a little bit in your car. Tell me what they had to do. Yeah,
actually, when I sit in this position, I have a big hole in my knee, and my cartilage is missing. So when I go to stand up in a seating position like this, if I go to try to stand up, it hurts. I have plenty of muscle to do it, but it's pretty painful. Well, in a sprint car, you sit just like you do here, and the way you use your brake is to swing the pedal. And when I do that, I'm unable to do it because of the pain. So we, at the time, Jessup Miller, he worked here. We spent a lot of time building pedals and trying to get a different way of moving it so where I didn't have to use the action of my knee. And we came up with sort of a handicap style pedal that works like my throttle. It's a little bit of a disadvantage at times, but it's what we got, and it's not going to hold us back.
So you're still young in your career, and you have a great resume so far. Your first year in World of Outlaws, you were Rookie of the Year, have a couple wins under your belt. To date, what is your greatest achievement?
Well, when we first came back from getting injured, it was a cool moment we had here. The first race back, we won it. So it was a victory, not just for the race, but just for me to say I could do this. Our wins at the short tracks. I grew up on big racetracks, so to be pretty fast and have a dominant race car in short tracks the last 2-3 years is a pretty good step for me, and for our teams.
Aside from Casey and your uncle, who are some drivers, role models that you look up to and go to for advice in racing in general?
Well, Donnie Schatz has always been, a hero of mine. Watch him come into Williams Grove and do what he does, and Fred Raymer, he's by far my biggest hero in sprint car racing. I've learned a lot from him, watching him, from racing him, and to see him, last year, graduate to retirement, and in the style he did it, it just solidifies how much of a hero he is.
Aside from a World of Outlaws championship, what are some other career goals that you have for yourself?
I want to win Knoxville Nationals. That's our Super Bowl. That's a racetrack that's always been pretty difficult for me to adapt to, and we've come a long way. Kings Royal, the National Open. I want to win that. Sprint car racing it's in my blood. It's what I want to do. It's what I want to grow old doing. So all the big races in that.
Some sprint car drivers give full-fendered stock cars a chance. Do you see that in your future at all?
I would always love the opportunity. I mean, there's a lot better paychecks there, but I've grown up racing dirt. It's always been my dream. I'd love to have the opportunity to do it, but you know, racing sprint cars is, you know, is what, you know, what I wake up for.
10 years from now, where's Cody Darrah going to be?
Hopefully still here. You know, hopefully we've have 10 World of Outlaw championships in 10 years. That's our goal: win races and to win a championship.
All right, Cody, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome getting to know you a little bit better, and best of luck to you this season and for the future.
Thanks for having me.